What's up? This is Matt from Live from the Middle Urinal, and you're listening to the BS Podcast Network.
Hey man, what up? You're listening to the Magic Our Way podcast with your hosts, Kevin, Danny, Eli, and Lee, man. These are some good old boys from New Orleans, and you should just kick back, open your ear holes, and listen, man. Have fun. JMU saying, snooch to the dooch.
Jumbo, everyone.
Harambe.
And welcome to another edition of
The Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
The Magic Our Way podcast.
They are truly magical and whatnot.
Asante Sun, everyone. You're listening to the Magic Our Way podcast from New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States of America. We are artistic buffs talking about Disney stuff, and this is the show in which every opinion is welcome. MagicOurWay.com is where you can find us. Last time we discussed Captain Marvel and the lawsuit, or lawsuits, I guess, associated with that character. Today we are talking about lawsuit. Is it one lawsuit or lawsuits, Eli?
Lawsuits.
Lawsuits related to Howard the Duck. My name is Kevin.
And I'm Danny.
And on this show, we follow the Disney concept of edutainment, where you focus on your entertainment, and along the way, you just might learn a thing or two.
Hey.
And as always, to join in our discussion, we have our resident comic genius from ivorycomics.com, Mr. Eli Ivory. Hi.
I want to say that so proper since there's such proper 12 going on.
24.
Oh, yeah, 24. That's right.
This episode brought to you by Proper 12.
Thanks, Conor
We're
McGregor.
not sponsored by them, but we definitely appreciate what they're doing for us.
Well, Proper 24 is sponsored by Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, that works too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Proper. Yeah.
All right, show of hands out
Damn
there.
it, Jack. Damn it, Jack.
Takes a little while. But when you get it, it's awesome.
Where's the bomb?
All right, so how many out there we can land? Remember Kiefer Sutherland? Just for show of hands. Okay.
Oh,
All right,
yes,
good,
right.
good,
Yes.
all right,
Great
cool.
show.
I'll
Great
see you
show.
Lost
in
Boys.
your car. Yeah, don't drive off the bridge. All right, good. Yeah, so excellent. Well, thank you.
Yes.
And also on our show is our resident travel agent for Magical Moments Vacations, the Shaggy T.A. Lee Lastavica. Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey.
What's going on?
You just released a video on YouTube, didn't you?
Apparently.
Trace leches, 3 leches, 3 milks.
Ooh, muchos leches?
Yep.
3 milks, 2 boobs. No, that's a different video.
Yeah. All right, go check out that video as soon as y'all can.
Subscribe.
That's not on YouTube. That's on Pornhub.
Yeah.
That's right.
My goodness.
No, actually, it's not on Pornhub. I'm sorry. It's on OnlyFans. We put it on OnlyFans this time.
Oh, my goodness.
So, guys, today on our show, we are talking about, well, as I mentioned, we were mentioning some lawsuits, right? We're connecting this to what we did last show with Captain Marvel, and we're talking about some lawsuits related to Howard the Duck, but within those lawsuits, there is a very colorful history associated with this character. Eli, you want to give him a little insight as what we're getting into with all this?
Yeah, sure. In this episode, you're going to find out how Howard the Duck was created, when he was introduced into the Marvel Universe in the 70s. And then you're going to learn about how Disney got involved in the sense of making sure that he had a slight wardrobe change. And then past that, we're going to go into the movie and then how Howard the Duck had an influence on Disney culture in the future.
Awesome, guys. So look, enough of our jibber jabber. Let's go discuss some Howard the Duck history magic.
Okay, so in this episode, you're going to learn the story that I call The Man, the Duck, and the Wardrobe. All right. So, Steve Gerber was a man who got his start in fanzines. He actually worked in an advertising agency. We're talking in the 70s. Picture it, if you will. St. Louis agency. There's a man there by the name of Steve Gerber. He's bored. He has nothing to do. It's driving him crazy. Well, luckily for him, he travels in a comic book circle. You know, he's got his few friends there. There's this guy named Roy Thomas.
Wait, now when you say his few friends there, where?
He's in St. Louis, but just in the comic book community, like going to comic book conventions.
So he's not an artist yet.
He's not an artist. He's a creative writer.
He's a creative writer.
He actually did like one article in this little independent zine called Crazy Magazine.
Crazy, man.
Crazy.
So fanzine is a fan magazine.
Yeah, a fanzine is kind of like it's like an ash can. It's like
Ash can?
Yeah, it's like a small book. You just kind of write your prose in it. You know, you say, hey, look, it's kind of like those rappers that you see, they haven't made it big yet.
They have a demo tape.
Yeah, they have a demo tape out the trunk of their car. They're like, hey, just read my stuff. That's all I want you to do. Listen to my music, read my stuff, like what I got.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify because I don't know if they still do fanzines and stuff nowadays. Right?
Oh, I'm sure in an independent circuit they
Fan
do.
blog or
Wait,
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably all online at
fan
this
email.
point.
Yeah, it's something a little different.
Probably
Anyway.
cheaper than having to print it out. Absolutely.
But same concept, guys. Fan of a thing, you're going to write about it. And yeah, so that's what he was doing.
Yes.
So, like, an ash can would be like maybe a 3-page treatment.
Exactly.
Oh, okay,
of
I
the
got
book.
you.
Like when we went to Comic-Con, we presented people with an ash can of our comic strip that we were working on. It was like maybe an 8-page booklet with a bunch of different strips in there.
Interesting. Okay, so that's what this guy was doing.
Yeah, this guy was just writing away.
Excellent. Okay.
So he knew a guy in the comic circle named Roy Thomas.
I love his burgers, by the way. Just saying.
Roy Thomas?
Is that the Wendy's guy? Is that what you're
No. Wendy's is Dave Thomas.
Oh.
I got confused. Sorry.
Oh, I guess Roy Thomas burgers would be Sandy's. Or
There's a Wanda's. Like he's a, you know, like they have, they have McDonald's and McDowell's. Well, there's Wendy's and there's Wanda's.
Yeah, his burgers are rectangles instead of squares.
And he has the Baconator where he has the Bacon Eater.
Right.
Yes, I got it.
That's
Okay.
Roy Thomas.
That's Roy Thomas.
All right, cool.
Oh, but so Roy works at Marvel. He's an editor at Marvel. And so Steve literally would send Roy his work, and Roy would write back with critiques. Like, you know, Roy was pretty cool. It's very hard for an editor to write back on submissions that you do at the time. But Roy likes his work, right? And so Roy says, I tell you what, I'm going to give you a 6-page Daredevil story. It's already illustrated. You just have to kind of fill in the words, so to speak, for the script of it.
Fill in the words?
Yeah.
Like a Mad Libs kind of filling in? Or what do you mean?
Like, basically, he was asking Steve to script it, but then, like, kind of put the dialogue in, like, how would Daredevil say, oh, no, you're not being run over or whatever. Like, basically, just write out the illustrated part of that story.
Okay, I got you.
Because that was, well, that's a different thing, but that was Marvel style at the time. They would just give you a sum up of something and then draw it, and then you would come back and write it.
Like those bad lip reading things where people just kind of add their own dialogue to an existing movie, but they make it match to the lips. Well, you don't have to worry about matching the lips, but people, you look at the thing and like, okay, what would they be saying in this?
Okay, I got you.
And in a
Okay.
particular way.
Interesting,
You know?
okay.
You don't want Daredevil being like, oh gosh, you know, you got to write that dude pretty cool. you
Yeah.
know?
So, listeners, just to give you some background, you know, we are artistic buffs. I'm more of a performance musical buff kind of thing, and these guys are more visual artists in the comic realm. So that's why I'm asking those questions, 'cause I'd have no idea. This is all new for me, so I'm learning a lot. So this is great. Thank you.
No, it's fun stuff. I mean, it's like when you guys do history or something, I learn. And that's what I wanted to pay that forward.
And I'm sure there's some listeners out there that probably have no idea what you're talking about as far as that thing. So maybe this will help you.
Well, they're going to learn today.
Yes, they are. This is a very interesting delve into this world. All right. So sorry, go ahead.
Delve away.
No problem. At this agency, Steve is bored. He's going crazy. Literally writes his friend Roy that he's going nuts at his day job. So what Roy does is he sends him a trial script. Basically, he takes a 6-page drawing of a Daredevil comic, and he says, go ahead, Steve, write this how you would see it. So Steve writes it. Roy loves it. And in 1972, that's Steve, that is, gets offered a job at Marvel, but he gets a staffing job. So kind of like, you know, office work. But Steve's not too good at that. He kind of falls asleep at the job. He's kind of slow. He doesn't do too well. So, but Roy's a good guy. And Steve, luckily for him, is a very creative writer. So by that process alone, Steve gets a chance to write comic books because his office work is just not that good.
That's kind of funny. They made him audition, but gave him a staff job.
Yeah, well, they do start you slow.
So it sounds like they want to keep him reserved because they figure, hey, this guy's pretty good, but we really don't have something right now.
Yes, but you figure though at that time the only thing he had written was like fanzines and ash cans, so
Oh,
that's
okay,
not
gotcha,
like
not enough portfolio.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right. We're
I
not
got you.
pumping money into you, and you're going to write out characters that we have that are now established because you only did like a little 5-page fanzine.
And to make sure I have this straight, I mean, so he didn't have, it wasn't an internship. He had a job.
Get a job.
He had a job. So, I mean, they're probably like, okay, we need to give you something to do, but we're paying you, so you're going to have to do something around the office to help out while we slowly bring you along into writing your own books.
Well, yes, and like you said, Roy was a cool guy. He had known Steve beforehand. You know, just he was aware of his talent. So yeah, I guess he was just really cool at that point. I was like, yeah, I'll give you a shot. Yes, and so like now we're going into the 70s, right? And so they go ahead and Marvel, that is, says, all right, Steve, we're going to give you a shot and let you write for us. Now, over the course of his career, just in the span of the career, he's written for Daredevil. He's done the Defenders, which is like a group that consists of Namor and Doctor Strange.
Namor is the Submariner.
The Submariner, yeah, like
the Marvel version of Aquaman. For those who don't know,
that's true.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
that's right. Yeah, he's got the little feathers on his ankles. I always thought that was weird. I'm like, how you fly and your wings are like the size of a peanut?
it's like Hermes, like the god of speed. But yeah, he had like little itty bitty wings on his ankles.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
The wings must have had steroids in it. Must have been made from Church's chicken. That's what I'm wondering. So he's basically done over the span of his career. That's what we're talking about at this particular point. He's done a lot of work just in general for Marvel, just past, present, future, right?
But never really kind of caught on with his own thing.
Right, until they issued a book. Now they did a book called Man Thing. That was one of his early
Man Thing?
Man Thing.
Oh.
That was one of his early works. Now Man Thing, if I could put a visual picture in you guys' head and the fans' head, imagine if a fly got with a man who got with an elephant, and then they all like hooked up, and so you had a fly's head with kind of an elephant's trunk on a man's body that had like grass and muck and all kind of stuff on it. That's Man Thing. He's kind of like and he was mute, so he's kind of like Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing from DC.
Okay.
He was like Marvel's version of that.
So if Jeff Goldblum got it on with an elephant and was mute.
Yeah, if Jeff Goldblum becomes the Fly, hooks up with Dumbo, I guess, and then they hook up with another. Yeah,
Then he looks freaky.
it's very freaky.
He's got big ears.
It's no ears. It's just
Just
the big eye, like the fly eyes.
Like these big like red eyes.
Okay.
And, like things are just hanging off of him like plants and algae and tentacles and stuff. I mean, it's like a cryptozoid.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like
It's creepy.
Mothman or something.
Oh, like
along
our
the-
Luke Guru? Maybe?
There you go.
Yeah.
The Lucaroo.
Yeah, like an
There's
urban
Luke-
legend.
Yeah, okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's a nasty zoid. So that's
Man thing.
Man thing. Like everybody.
Not to be confused with Man Thong. Completely different other hero.
If you got swamp and grass hanging off your man dog, you need to see a doctor. That's
You need that Manscaper 3000.
yeah, something needs to be washed that day. Absolutely.
Man Thong is a completely other hero. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And he's also he had gone on to work on different story Bibles for cartoons like Thunder the Barbarian, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. So he was a huge part of our youth, story wise.
Gerber, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Steve Gerber.
Steve Gerber.
You're setting us up for Steve to kind of give us an idea of who he is, because ultimately, what does he do?
Well, ultimately, what he's known for is he is the creator of Howard the Duck.
The father.
The father,
If you
father,
will.
father. Yes, daddy. He made that happen. And so the thing is what you're going to learn here is about one man's love for his creation to a point where is it healthy or obsessive? That's the question you should ask yourself as we peruse through this narrative.
So when in time are we looking at here? When did this all take place?
We're talking the 70s. So he's hired in 72. He's gonna go on.
I wasn't born yet, so okay.
You were born. Yeah, neither was I.
Yeah.
Lee?
71 for me.
Oh,
Okay,
so do you remember this?
No, not hardly.
Just kidding.
I mean, not only do I not remember this, obviously, but the funny thing is, like with Howard the Duck, I don't know, man. Like, I grew up in the '80s, obviously, but it's just one of those shows I never watched. Movies I never saw for whatever reason. So I said, you know what? Let me check. I got it on Netflix, and I actually watched it last night, so I could have some kind of a frame of reference for this particular show.
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay.
So yeah, so I actually saw Howard the Duck the first time in my life last night.
So you got to see Lea Thompson in her underwear.
Yeah, I got to see some duck boobs.
That was my favorite scene.
Yeah. It's
Sounds like the duck boobs was his favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was a big pinup. It was a big pinup if you see that movie. And,
Well, ever since he had those duck wings over at Carthay Circle, he's been all about the duck.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Once you go duck.
yeah, you never give a buck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to say you don't give a... Well, never mind.
That was yeah. I was like, I try to be clean, but yeah, I'm with you. That's what I would have thought too. But before we would get to the movie, we have to know.
There's a bunch more before that.
Yeah, well, you got to know how the character comes to be and how he's made and the popularity that comes with it. So
I want to know how Howard the Duck got a movie.
well, here's the thing. So Man-Thing has his series, right? And so in issue 19, they make Man-Thing is a character. And so they make something that's like an anthology. So it's like a collection of different hodgepodge of characters and whatnot. So Man-Thing gets Adventures into Fear.
Okay,
right?
so is Steve Gerber, is this his thing, or
Yes,
is he
he's
just
writing.
working on it?
Well, he's been given the assignment. Yeah, he's working on it. He's been given the assignment to write Man-Thing.
Okay, so this is
So
his
he
thing.
didn't
Okay.
come up with Man-Thing?
Correct.
He was given Man-Thing.
He was given
and
Man-Thing.
he ran with it, and
Yeah, they were like, here's one of your stuff. Now, what we're doing here, this is what we're doing. So, like, I gave you that history. I just gave you all the stuff that the dude did above and beyond, right? Just
Right.
Dude did a lot of work.
yes.
But now we're going to take that one segment of his career, and then we're going to break that down, and then we're going to go ahead and show you how that evolves into Howard.
Okay, so he's working on Man-Thing.
He's
You
working on
said
Man-Thing.
issue 19?
Issue 19 of a comic was called Adventures into Fear. So it was featuring Man-Thing. Okay, so there's this villain in there. His name is Thog, not Thong, because that's what I thought when I first read it.
A lot of thongs in this
There's a lot of
episode.
thongs in there. You know, man-head dreams. So
Whatever is comfortable.
so this villain Thog, he is like this master of these different realities. So in this episode, this issue, he tries to combine all these different multiple realities into one
Like a multiverse.
Interesting.
Now the thing is, it's kind of funny is that Man-Thing lives in the swamp, and so they were saying that he lives kind of around the Florida Everglades where the mystical things happen. Right now, is it possible? Maybe it's like a conspiracy theory, but is it possible that Steve may have thought, hey, you know, magical things have happened in the Florida Everglades before?
Yeah, like Meriwether Adam Pleasure created a whole island of adult playground.
All right. Or maybe, you know, Walt Disney World, that being the giving birth there. So maybe he was inspired.
What you're saying is that when this talking duck shows up, maybe he is a magical creature escaped or pulls from the dimension of
Magic that's within this
Orlando.
area.
Lake Buena Vista.
And around that
the magical
area.
dimension of Orlando.
This is a, you know, it's a possibility, right? So yes, so this guy Thog creates this universe, and then out of this universe comes this fussy cigar smoking, duck tie wearing with no pants from another dimension character that just literally lays it out how it is. I mean, this character comes out and he says, hey, this world of humans makes no sense to me. I'm just a duck trying to get a nut. So
To move your butt to
Move
the
your
dance
butt.
floor. And the CNC Music Factory all dance with him.
And so, like, the thing is that the crowd liked the fact that it was such an abstract character in a serious Marvel human-like world where all the stories were serious, and then here was this duck that was coming in and was basically saying, here's this satire. Your world doesn't make any sense to me. If these things are life and death situations, I'm gonna just go smoke my cigar and get the hell on, right? So now the crowd loves Howard for those few issues. They love him. Unfortunately, Steve's friend Roy, who got him the job, did not like Howard that much and felt that it was kind of weird for a walking, talking, ghost Marking duck with no pants on to just fit in this universe. So they make a storyline where Howard gets sucked into a void and like doesn't show up again. Now the fans are kind of like, well, what the hell happened to Howard? We liked Howard. So like now in comic conventions, they're like hounding them. They're like writing, they're hounding the editors. They're hounding everybody who works at the Marvel staff. They're writing those, bullpen letters. Like, back then they would have those, like, when you read the book towards the end, they have the bullpen where like people like, dear Marvel, I love your books. When did these people going to get together? Like, so people were writing to the editors like, where the hell's Howard? We like Howard. When Howard coming back? So like after all this pressure, Roy was like, well, damn. What are we going to do? Okay, so the fans, they don't quit. Okay, so the fans see that Howard's disappeared. Now, one thing you should know is that Steve tells Val when creating the visual look of Howard, please, baby, please don't make him look like Donald Duck. It's tough enough that they're both ducks, but just be easy on it. So Val draws him with a kind of rounded bill. He's very yellow. He's kind of got like his top hat. He's got like, again, blue suit coat, red tie.
He's chopping on a cigar.
He's got like the web feet, but they don't look too web. They're just kind of like a simplistic kind of drawing. So that's the look going forward. Now, after the fans make their clamor, Steve comes back and puts Howard into a giant size Man-Thing issue where Howard now falls back from the void and he starts to do his own thing. Now he's meeting these other weird characters such as Garko the Man Frog and Bessie the Hell Cow. I don't know how much milk she's got to come out, but it's got to hurt.
Bessie the Hell Cow. Wasn't that your first girlfriend?
Yeah. Actually, her name was Bessie the Hell Mouth, but that's a different story.
Oh my goodness.
Still having to put ointment on that sometimes, in memory. But so they go ahead and the reaction is only a couple of issues, right? But the fans are just really happy to have Howard back. And so sales spike. Now, the guys at Marvel are like, well, maybe there's something to this Howard guy. I mean, obviously, they're starting to identify with him. And fans are right. And they like the fact that it's kind of like a real surreal world as opposed to the stories that are being told at the time. Howard kind of juxtaposes anything that's going on. And he kind of has a weird satirical way, or the way that Steve is writing it. Howard's view of the world is just kind of like, this is kind of weird. This is a joke. Where there are things that are being taken seriously. We'll get into that in a little bit.
So would you say that this is similar to maybe like Guardians of the Galaxy? Because that was something that appealed to me about that particular franchise, because it's just so different than everything else. So maybe are you saying that's kind of what the appeal was, that it wasn't just your everyday Superman, I can fly, I can jump, I can do this, that, and the other, and I'm going to fight crime type situation. So it was like giving the fans, something different than what they see in their everyday in and out comic books.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. It's more akin to a character that sticks out. And I think what Steve kind of pushes forward is trying to make the character acclimate when visually it just shouldn't. So yeah, it's kind of like that weird standout. And I guess maybe the fans, now this is just me just talking as a fan, I think the people that gravitated towards Howard were, in a sense, like outcasts, or a sense had like a certain look on things themselves, which stuff just didn't make sense because it had to fit into the norm. And I think that's what gravitated them.
And perhaps I just enjoy the juxtaposition of this sarcastic duck who was like Donald, but way more acerbic.
Yes.
And way more sarcastic and
more adult oriented.
It can talk.
Yes. Fitting into a world full of these giant muscle-bound creatures.
Big as humans.
And still being kind of like the alpha male, I suppose.
Yeah, proving himself, being like, yeah, this is a joke. And then like not really having any powers, you know what I mean? Like he can't shoot no ray guns out of his face or out of his bill, nothing like that. Just he's just like a regular guy. because you can't say regular Duck, right? Because he's not. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But he doesn't have powers, and no gadgets or nothing. He's just feisty.
Sure.
So now in 1976, he gets his own series. Now, here's the trick. Now, remember earlier, Steve talks to the creative Val, the artist Val, I should say, when they first bring Howard into the Marvel Universe. Well, now he's getting his own book. And so Marvel gives him two new artists. Frank Bruner, who works on the first couple of issues, and then Gene Nolan, who was a very popular comic book artist at the time, took over for the rest of the series. The series runs about 27 issues, which is a pretty good run back then, considering it's a walking, feisty, duck with a cigar in his mouth. But the group, loves it. Now, the thing is with these two artists, the style of Howard has changed. Now he kind of resembles a certain Disney duck a little bit more than he did before. Except, he's a duck that smokes a cigar, right?
Yeah, can you give the listeners a little bit of an appreciation as to what the comic of Howard the Duck was? Was Howard like a private eye for hire? Was he a duck? Was it similar to the movie? And I know you're going to get to that, where it's like a duck trapped in an Earth world. I mean, what was the overall theme or scenario that played itself out in the comic pages? How did they present Howard?
Yeah, they just kind of made like a crazy, like a parody almost. That's the best way I can put it. Howard would just be like, he was kind of like a private eye. He was kind of doing his own thing. He runs into a human girl that's Beverly, right? I mean, he helps her out, and then he gets into all these other adventures where at the time, like you said, they gave him an Iron Man suit at one time just to make mockery of that. They just kind of took that character and just made sure they could turn the Marvel Universe on his head. Like, he was meeting all these characters that wouldn't fit in a Avengers comic book or a Spider-Man comic book. It was just a very crazy world that they made, and then he was just commenting on it. Like, that's what fans like the most.
He wasn't in a duck world.
No.
He was a duck that was pulled from his world through that multiverse thing, and now he's trapped on Earth, and he's
just trying to figure out while trying to get the normal things in life. But it's funny, like, nobody actually observes what world he comes from until, ironically, and we'll get to it later, but when Steve is not taking over the book. Like, actually a completely different writer explores Howard's world, calling it Duck World. And Steve actually hated that. He hated that idea.
Duck World.
Yeah. Okay. Which makes sense. I mean, he's a duck. Where else is he going to come from?
Right? At some point in time, like, it's like Alf. Like, you remember? Like,
yeah.
They had the Alf show where Alf was an alien trying to make it in the world of humans, but then they did the cartoon, and now he's Gordon Shumway back on a planet full of other Alfs. Which would, of course, it makes sense. The idea that he came from somewhere.
Kill me.
Here's the thing. So now one of the things that Steve covers is, I guess, issues with politics, and he actually makes it so that Howard runs for president of the United States in 1976 under the All-Night Party.
The All-Night Party.
Oh, yeah.
All night, baby. All night.
Lionel Richie. All night long. All night.
All night.
All night.
All night party. All night party.
All the duck.
And you're invited.
And he actually had Marvel make pins, like pins of like Howard looking all crazy with the duck bill and the cigar, like, pointing at you and like vote for Howard. Like, yeah, it was a big merchandising thing. And funny enough, he actually got real votes. like
real votes.
Yes, real votes. Who knows? Maybe one day that's going to happen. A fictional character is just going to be president of the United States at some point. I mean, it can't hurt.
We haven't gotten to that point already. We have a TV reality show.
Yeah. We have a Terminator.
WrestleMania contestant.
But a comic book, I mean, it's gotta come by. Meanwhile, and so this gets like Steve different interviews. I mean, he gets interviewed by Playboy, Washington Post. So like, he's gone ahead and he's getting a lot of attention for his creation of Howard. Unfortunately, way off overseas, the Power of Howard paid attention to another group, and they have a duck as well.
Who?
Oh, no kidding.
Look at that pig.
You don't say.
Don't say. Well, there you go. It can't just be Marvel. It's got to be Disney. Got to be Disney because it's Disney podcast. Yes, Disney.
Not Warner Brothers.
Not Warner Brothers.
Not
no.
Warner Brothers.
So around this time, the thing is Disney on the domestic front, they're not really paying attention to Howard the Duck as far as being a comic book. They're not worried about it. They're doing their own thing. It only takes their overseas distributors who make publications called Golden Key. That was the comics that made this. Golden Key. Gold Key.
Okay.
That made the Disney character comic book. So they saw that their sales were declining because people over there were buying Howard the Duck made by Marvel, and people were getting confused. And so the distributors and the sellers of the book said, Disney, you need to talk to these guys about this because our sales are dropping because, there's 2 ducks in here and the world's only big enough for one. Ain't it going to be your duck? Right? What you gonna do about that?
What does that say about Daffy, man?
I'm about to say it.
Come on.
They talk about 2 white ducks.
Oh,
that's right.
Oh.
He went racial.
They ain't thinking about Daffy.
Ain't nobody worry about Daffy.
I love Daffy, but
you got to work twice as hard to get to where the white duck is.
Black ducks matter.
That's right, man. It wasn't until Roger Rabbit that brought them 2 together.
Oh my God!
Playing piano on stage is the only time you saw those 2 ducks on stage.
Meanwhile, Howard was asked out. But you can't. I guess you got to get 3 ducks in one, and then you got a whole feast happening.
Menage a quack.
Ooh, Menage a Bill.
Menage a Bill.
There you go. Bam. Now, as we all know, Disney does not have any problem with doing any sort of cease and desist. I mean, like now,
they love that stuff.
They love that stuff. And there was at least 3 or 4 different things that I saw. And I was like, well, damn. Some of the people that were mocking Disney characters, like you got to remember, like right back then, the characters are very wholesome. They're
family
they're out
friendly,
there.
yeah.
Right, they're part of the culture. Like really, like they're well saturated. Definitely not to the level they are now, but yeah, they're part of the culture. So a bunch of different artists would kind of make parodies of their characters. One particular example is National Lampoon. I know they make movies like Vacation, European Vacation, Animal House.
Saturday Row. Yep, absolutely.
That's it.
And did they have a magazine or something or whatever?
They did have a magazine. That's what it's about. And so in this magazine, they have a artist depiction of Minnie Mouse showing everything. Like she raises a skirt, she shows up everything except for 2 flowered pasties. Yeah.
Over a little mouse nipples?
Yeah, over the mouse nipples.
Oh,
But
wow.
everything else, as far as the mouse bush, like that's all out there. So, people are like, that's just raw making fun of Minnie Mouse. So Disney went down there and said, hey, you can't have our mouse stripping and, she in our house, like
yeah, but
Disney
can't you see why Mickey never wants to leave?
Obviously, if she's pulling out flowered pasties, I mean, you can't beat that.
Like, look at that.
That's kind of kinky. But that should be in your house, right? You don't want your lady being up in somebody else's house with that depiction.
True.
Yeah. So Disney was not having that. They said, that. They that. You know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to sue you for $11 million. How about that? Put that on your pasty.
They sued them for $11 million.
$11 million. They said, if you're going to do that.
For drawing a topless Minnie.
Yes.
That was kind of topless.
Well, bottomless / kind of topless Minnie. Yeah. Because it breaks the wholesomeness.
The wholesomeness of it, bro.
The goodness.
Yeah, the goodness.
Like a good biscuit on the Sunday morning.
God that brought him down.
Yes, Lord.
Put it on the stage.
Yeah, the miracle.
The miracle, that's right.
Can't disrupt
the purity.
Miracle. Yeah, he can't do that.
Jesus is just brought upon.
That's just wrong. So National Lampoon says, yeah, all right, fine. We concede. We're not going to do this. And there were a couple other artists and other areas that, Disney had pretty much laid the hammer of Thor down on them to say, hey, stop making our characters look cheap.
I wonder how Cracked and Mad Magazine have gotten away with that for so many years.
They've been sued.
They've been sued too?
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's been sued at some point in time, but they still... Well, I can't
make the parodies, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I picked up a Mad magazine, but I mean, even in my formative teenage years, they were still doing parodies of Disney movies and Disney characters and whatnot, and drawing them in
precarious
less
situations.
Disney ways. Then I'm sure that the company would prefer to be them to be portrayed. But I mean, I would think satire is satire.
Yeah, and that's a part of copyright law that happens later. Is like this, one of the things is like if it's a one-stop shop, meaning like they do it like one time, then they back off of it, and it's just a parody. It's not really your character. It's like an offshoot of it. But in the beginning, yeah, they just kind of tore right at them. But yeah, later they were like, they kind of grade the areas.
So did they get the millions from National Lampoon?
No, National Lampoon was like, nah, we cool. All right, we cool. We not gonna do it.
Yeah, they're like, we're cool, but it's out there. Ha ha ha.
Right. Yeah, no, they settled the case. And then they took, the pick was gone. But I'm sure whoever owns it at this point, they still have it. I mean,
it's online. You can see it. I took a look at it while we were talking.
Exactly, right? So they're upset. Disney goes out and they reach out to Marvel. This is around 1977. And then they say to them, hey, look, we hear you got this duck character. That's kind of causing some issues with our own duck character. So look, we get it. You're a comic company. We do everything else. We're not looking to sue you yet, but here's the thing. We're going to give you a chance to take these redesigns. We're going to have our artists redesign your Howard the Duck character for you. And you're going to take it, and you cannot change the design. Once you get it, that's what it is. If you choose not to do it, there's going to be a nice, juicy lawsuit coming your way, and Mickey Mouse is going to serve you the subpoena.
So it's like they're saying, we like what you're doing, but we need to change it. And so we're going to do it for you, and you're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
You're going to like it.
You're going to like it, yes.
Yes. And so, I mean, so Marvel at this point, I mean, they can't compete with something like this, especially like a lawsuit. I mean, they don't want that. So they're like, hey, look, whatever you want. Fine, cool. Go ahead, just redesign away. Now the thing is, though, they don't tell Steve. They don't tell Steve. So I guess in this case, it's more of it's not Val's fault, the guy who originally created it, but it might be Gene Nolan's fault. Or I don't know about Fred, because Fred kind of do the two issues.
Fred
Bruner.
Okay.
Who made him start to look a little bit more like Donald.
Okay. Right.
But I got to imagine Steve saw the books. I mean, I'm sure
he did 27 issues, yeah.
Right. I'm sure he picked up his own books and like, this looks a little bit different. Kind of looks like Donald. Who cares?
But it's kind of weird, right? Like he tells Val, please don't make it look like Donald. And then now Gene Nolan's a bigger name than Val at this time. And like he says that he liked working with Gene. It was like having a telepathic relationship. Actually, Gene...
That's deep.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's funny how synergy works. Now, remember, in the very beginning, when Roy sent Steve the samples of work to write the Daredevil thing, that was drawn by Gene Nolan.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe...
It comes around
as a theory. Maybe Steve was starstruck by Gene. Was like, oh, man, just look good, man. Whatever you do. Like, like...
I will put words in your mouth,
whatever
Gene.
you need.
That's right.
Out there, so it doesn't really say who's necessarily responsible for that look. But yes, after that issue, those issues of how those 27 issues come out, that's what attracts the attention of Disney. So before with Man-Thing and all that, Disney had no care in the world about that. But after those issues come out, then yeah, Disney's like, yeah, we're going to redesign the character for you, and you're going to go ahead and like it. Now, the designs come into making Howard's head a little more oval, his eyes smaller, and his bill a little more upturned, right? They want to give him toes instead of like the webbed feet, and they want to give him a fatter body and not make him, they want to make him more yellowish. I don't know how much yellow you can be without looking like you have jaundice. But they want to make him more yellow than Donald, and then they like change the way his feathers look. And then the final coup de grace, the final nail in the coffin is Howard has to wear pants. Donald can just walk around, just let it flow in the breeze, but Howard needs to wear pants, right?
It's so hard to swim in water with pants. It can't do that to a duck.
Especially if it's corduroy. That makes it really
corduroy, is that what he wore?
No, I'm just saying if there's pants and there's corduroy.
I'm about to say, that's even worse.
Yeah. Kevin, that's the most logical argument I've ever heard for why Donald does not wear pants.
Oh, because you can't
just swim. Like, as a duck, you want to get in your pond, of course. Like,
I mean, you watch ducks, they just go in there and just go at it.
I've never seen Donald do that, but you got to assume, like, in private moments, he's like, you know what? There's a pond. I'm just
gonna let's take a dip.
I'm just gonna waddle.
That gives me a great. They need a Donald that can swim. I want to see Donald just, hey, Daisy, let's go for a swim, baby.
In the moonlight.
I'm tired of this theme park stuff. You and I, we're going to have a date night. We're going to go on Seven Seas Lagoon, and we're just going to swim around. Oh, look, it's the water pageant. Let's go swim by that. And then people be like, oh, look, there's Donald.
Without pants.
Wow.
No, now, meanwhile, Howard can't do nothing. He has to stand on the side.
They're swimming like a duck.
He wants to take his pants off, but he's going to worry about, like, infringement and his company being sued.
I don't know, y'all. I think we stumbled upon something that would be awesome.
What?
I mean, imagine if you're staying in the Contemporary or Polynesian or Grand Floridian, and all of a sudden you see Donald and Daisy just swimming around.
Just like an animatronic Donald and Daisy.
Huh. Or maybe not. Maybe they create a costume in which the people can actually just go in, like it's like a little boat. And they could just go into the water and just like, hey, they're doing the princess wave, It's like, hey, how you doing?
Like you're scuba diving, and then like you come up for air, and you see them just kind of like swimming out past you with like no pants on. Well, see, Steve does not agree with this. Steve Gerber does not agree with your train of thought. No, he believes that Howard should be just as free as Donald and Daisy and just run out there without the pants on.
So he wants Howard to. Is he mad about the pants or the redesign in general?
He's mad about the redesigns in general. He nobody consults him about that. Marvel just kind of concedes and says, "Yeah, we'll take the redesigns. The redesigns can't be changed," and they don't talk to Steve about it. But the main thing is the pants. Like Steve,
that's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
Well, I can see that.
That's the final straw,
Yeah, Donald ain't got no pants. Daffy ain't got no pants. What kind of duck has pants?
I'm just saying, yeah, he does, right? And really, what ends up happening is that from that point forward, they have different other artists that work on it, but they don't follow. Some follow the redesign, some don't. And so Steve actually makes different stories about censorship, in which Howard is always trying to fight like these different groups, and in the groups they try to like get him and force him to wear pants, to which he wears the pants and then he takes the pants off and he's like, never will you do this to me. So there are a couple of issues where Steve is creatively pushing his frustrations forward, which I think is genius, and just saying, yeah, I don't want my character wearing pants.
The man is trying to make me wear pants.
I like how he's turning Howard the Duck into Kunta Kinte.
I would not wear these pants. I'm free.
Eli.
Yeah.
So before he was wearing pants, was he wearing the trench coat?
Howard, no, he would just wear like a suit coat. And then like
suit coat.
Yeah, like a suit coat. Kind of like, yeah, he wear this, like if you were doing a Zoom meeting and then like the top part of you is all suit.
You don't need to see the bottom anyway?
You don't need to see the bottom, yes.
All right. In my mind, I was thinking trench coat. And I'm like, yeah, if you're wearing a trench coat, you probably need some pants.
That's a whole different visual altogether.
Yeah, exactly. So, but suit coat, I guess not.
No, but no, yes, he's just got the top half, no pants, and but in the redesign, he's basically, Disney tells him basically he's got to have like an overall suit,
and he's got to be yellow.
Well, the color of his feathers, yeah, it has to be more yellow. So they're basically just making sure he is as distinct from Donald as possible, but not as, I don't think it makes him look as, what's the word, visually pleasing as Donald.
They want to make him look like a little rubber duck.
What's curious about this to me is that Disney would go out of its way to be like, because I can understand Disney to a certain extent saying like, we need to protect Donald, so we need to have final approval as to what this duck looks like. But to go that extra step beyond and say, no, we're gonna do it. Not that you guys get to redesign your character and submit it for our approval. We're doing it. And you're going to like it.
Yeah, and Marvel...
Or we're going to sue the pants off of you, literally.
I ain't got no pants.
You don't need pants. You broke.
That's awesome.
And that says something about Marvel, too, at the time, if we can be honest. I mean, like, if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I have, I don't know, I got Mulan. Your Project Geisha character reminds me of Mulan. Here's the redesigns, change it, I'd be like, hey, wait, because they're... way to work this out first. Like, I couldn't imagine if the company that I work for just took my character and then just said, yeah, we're just gonna follow what these guys told us, and then like not tell me about it, and then just concede without trying to maybe do a redesign back, maybe say, hey, well, look, we don't want to be sued, let's work something else out, we like this, we want him to have pants, anything. But
redesign, but can you guarantee I'll be successful?
Yeah, but they just cave They just totally cave.
Wait, so Steve caves on this?
No. I'm saying Marvel caves.
Oh, Marvel caves.
No, Steve does not cave. Steve never caved.
So at this point,
He's always pissed.
But Steve doesn't own Howard.
I was about to say that. So at this point, Howard is a Marvel property, not Steve's anymore.
Okay, so so now there's we're into technicality. Yes, since
That's a big technicality.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the eternal argument between creators versus the company they work for.
Got a great point.
Yeah.
At this point, Steve has a work for hire agreement. So yes, as long as he works for Marvel, the Howard is Marvel's.
So as long as it works for Marvel, all properties that he creates under that brand is Marvel's?
Yes. And then what happens is like say like they give you a check. And so like they have like these weird, like they have like the stipulation on the check, right? And you got to sign the back of it. And so like they always had proof like, yeah, the character's ours. Now Marvel still likes Steve's writing, and they give him a whole bunch of different writing assignments. So he's writing the superhero stuff, and he's writing all this, these other things in addition to Howard. And they like him so much they sign him to a contract, right? So the contract is the equivalent of if he made like about like $60,000 a year. Now part of that is now you definitely work for us. Now part of the stipulation is if you don't work for Marvel anymore, your character is ours. Because I guess like their point is like we're printing it, and right? We're printing it. We did the merchandise when you wanted Howard to run for president,
promoting it.
We promoted it. We got to pay the distributors. We have to pay the comic shops. We have to do all this stuff.
We're taking the risk. If we run your character in our book and the book doesn't sell, we're eating the cost. We're not coming after you to pay us back some of your money.
Exactly.
That is interesting, man. Because that same thing kind of happens in the music world, where it's like, you're under a label and you publish it under that label. They say they own it and you can't get it back. And you can't sell it on your own or whatever else without doing it through that label.
Yeah, ask Frankie Lyman, right?
I don't know who that is. Who's that?
Why Do Fools Fall in Love?
Oh, no kidding.
Never seen that movie?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. No, I got it. No, that is nuts. That happens in the entire art world. That pisses me off.
Me too. That's kind of where it kind of gravitated me, because when I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm going to make this character. And like somebody would always tell me, like, don't you make that character and give it to such and such. They'll take it, make it their own. You won't get nothing. And I always thought that was, but
it's true. But I mean, it does go both ways, though, doesn't it? Because I mean, we just had the last conversation about Captain Marvel Shazam, where DC tried to claim that anybody, if they had superpowers, that's ours.
That's
because
Superman.
we created Superman, and so it can. Like anything, there's positives and negatives on both sides, and there's people who are exploiting their copyright to try and prevent anybody from having a character that is anywhere in the ballpark of their characters. Now, with Howard, absolutely, there's a lot of a similarity in the way that he was drawn.
They're both in Duck.
Well, Daffy's last name is Duck.
Yeah, right.
They're cousins.
They're related.
It kind of goes with the territory of being a duck. The duck is going to be in your name.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you can't copyright the word duck.
Yeah, so copyrights can be abused both ways, where people are trying to prevent anybody from competing with them by trying to claim that if your character has one aspect of their character, that it's copyright infringement, when really, I mean, how many different ways can you actually even draw a duck? Exactly.
It's like they're gonna look similar no matter what.
I have yet to see a mallard duck drawn in cartoons. And mallard ducks, I'm a big fan because I work at Tulane, and I go to Audubon Zoo and I'll see mallards all the time.
Yeah,
they ain't got no duck look like him.
I mean, you're right. In stylized, you don't want to over stylize like a duck, because then if it doesn't look like a duck, well, then now that just defeats the purpose of you saying here's such and such the duck. Can't have that. That makes you look crappy as an artist. Then you're fired. You never work again. It's a very thin tightrope.
You'll never work in this business again.
Come to think of it, there was also Darkwing Duck, and his last name was Duck, and he was white too.
Isn't he related to? He's not related to Donald.
He might be related to Donald. It's been a while.
I thought they were all family.
Y'all family.
You never see him in the same place. Maybe it's the same dude.
And I'm okay with that.
I am too. That'd be awesome. They should have did that.
But there was also that duck from Tom and Jerry. He was yellow, that little itty bitty. Please don't eat me, Mr. Cat.
Oh,
You remember that
you're
little
right.
duck?
I remember that guy.
Oh, that duck was.
Oh my!
So that is perhaps the funniest duck.
It is. No, but so he was a yellow duck. So
He was a yellow duck.
I wonder if Howard would have ran into issues with that. Like Disney didn't care because Tom and Jerry was around. Tom and Jerry has been around for a while.
Yeah, but that was like Hanna-Barbera, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's different.
It's
crazy
still their
media.
yellow duck though, right?
Yeah,
Right.
And he ends up working for them later, so that's that's kind of crazy. But they're different mediums. I mean, like if I'm worried about what somebody's doing in the movies as compared to what I'm doing in the drawing, I can't. They got more behind them than what I have. But if somebody else who's like an independent creator draws something that looks exactly like what I got, I might have a shot to get a couple extra bucks. Not that I will just start suing like creators like, recklessly like that, but times are hard.
Maybe the Magic Our Way podcast needs our own duck as a mallard. We need to produce a mallard duck.
Yes, I want a mallard duck character for the Magic Ari Pod.
And his last name won't be Duck.
What would it be?
Or McDuck.
McDuck?
I don't know. Because it's always like the last name's always Duck or McDuck or something.
McBill?
Some derivatation.
We'll just call him Quack.
Yeah.
Ain't no duck with a last name Quack.
Mile Quack.
Yeah, Miles Quack.
Mile Quack.
Mouse Quack.
MOW Quack. Mile Quack. I don't know.
We'll work on that.
There you go.
Best defensive lineman ever.
Bam. So here's the thing. So yes, you were right. Back to your point, Kevin.
Yes.
You were right. Because Steve worked for Marvel, they felt that Howard was their character.
He created him while he was employed by their brand, and therefore Howard belongs to Marvel, not you.
Right.
Ah, damn.
So now also at this point they give him other work, and he's also fighting having the pans, done by Disney in the redesign. Right. So Disney backs off, but then they come back when they see later issues. None of the redesigns have been taking place.
Oh no.
They're not too happy about that. Now they haven't sued Marvel, but they're just like, you're about to get it.
Well, now, who's making that call? Is that Steve or is that Marvel?
The call for the not listening to the redesign has been done by different artists. There's a whole bunch of different artists at that point. So some adhere to it and then some don't. But for the most part,
How does that get through? How does it get approved? Right?
Yeah, you got to get approved.
You got to go through the storyboards or whatever, and like the editor and this, that, and the other. So it's not like
well, it's a lot more strict now than it was then.
I was going to say, yeah, to go back to what Lee just said, storyboards, you're thinking like Pixar, dude, where they kind of, they're plotting out their books like 3 years in advance or something. No, like literally the way it works is that you get a script, the artist goes ahead and draws it. By the time you get the pages back from him at this point in time, at least, it would have been a couple months later, or I can't say a couple months, but at least like a month later, you would get your new book. And then, boom, there's your art in front of you. So no one storyboarded it before they drew it, except for the artist himself, who had complete artistic control.
Right, and then you got to figure, too, like, they had, like, a rotating line of artists. So that means, like, they might say, okay, well, here's this redesign, but it hasn't, like, gone, like, Howard's not a huge, massively popular character, say, like, the Fantastic Four or something like that. So, like, every artist has to now say, okay, I can draw this duck. Oh, wait, here's this redesign. Okay, well, I'll pull what I can off of it. But artists, trust me when I tell you, just have different ways of doing things.
I got to imagine when the actual book would come in, like maybe the editors would see, okay, that looks a little bit like Donald, and we're not taking into account the redesigns, but if we don't run this book that as it's printed, we're going to not have
late.
Yeah, we're not going to have a Howard the Duck book this week or this month, and so we'll run it. But hey, don't do that again.
But then it's a different guy doing it next time.
No, not necessarily.
But keep this in mind. If you remember the last show with the Captain Marvel show, this is also a company that was like, hey, look, we want Captain Marvel. We're just going to make a Captain Marvel book. And then, like, so it's...
They were just pushing the boundaries anyway.
Yeah, but their staff is not as tight as it is now. Like that's the key point. Even their legal department is kind of like, yeah, we're not really on this to enforce this on the artist as well. And Steve is a writing genius, right?
Look at the whole Man-Thing thing. That's a direct rip-off of Swamp Thing.
Totally.
That's a direct rip-off of them. And they still ran, because that's what they did back in the day. Somebody came across something that was successful, we still do it today. Somebody comes across something successful, you're going to see 13 derivatives of it by next season or whatever, the new thing runs around.
So it's a different world from where you're coming from over there.
Speaking of derivatives.
Yeah. And so here's the other thing. So then they keeping it. Now, Steve has other jobs. I didn't mean to put it like that, but
You said Steve Jobs.
yeah. And trust me, that will make sense later.
Oh, will it?
Yeah. There's an aftermath part to this. You'll love it. So here's the thing. So Stan the Man.
Now, when you say Stan the Man, you mean
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
So, yes.
God rest his soul.
You're right. God rest his soul. So Stan, he is looking at the work that Steve is turning in, but he realizes that the work is getting later and later. So he's warning Steve, hey, look, you got to get on this. Now, this time, Howard also has, besides the book, he also has like a newspaper strip. So Steve Gerber's running behind late on all of them.
Because Steve's like so caught up into this Howard madness.
The pants.
He's got something that's taking off, something that he created. He's not worried about your Daredevil book because that's not really his. He's not worried about all this other stuff.
Defenders and
Right. He's fighting the Howard
censorship.
Right.
He's fighting censorship. In his mind, he cannot let this go.
He's the Lenny Bruce of Marvel at this point.
I like that. So then there's the thing. So now Steve is still doing his thing. He won't let the pants issue go. Stanley says, hey, look, you're behind on your deadlines. So I'm sorry. They're going to have to let you go. We're going to have to let you out of the contract. At that point, they've let Steve go. Okay.
So Stan just said that's enough. You got to go.
You got to go.
You're too caught up in fighting the Disney fight.
Well, they said they don't touch on the Disney aspect of it, but they do. They use the thing of saying you're behind on all of your books.
Oh, so what you're saying is that you think that perhaps they used that excuse to kind of stop them because he kept bumping heads with them over this Howard the Duck issue. Because Marvel wanted to capitulate, and Steve would put pressure on them not to.
Right. He kept having to. Yeah, he kept making the stories where it would eventually piss Disney off, and I think the higher ups at Marvel knew that, but Steve was such a talent that they were like, geez, let's see how far we can go. But they had to catch him on something a little more solid. And Steve was falling behind on his deadlines, putting books months behind. Can't have that. Like, that's a legitimate no-no in the comic book industry. If you can't make your deadline, you out on the bread line. That's how that works.
Well, you got to look at it back in the day. I mean, when you wanted, and maybe it is still like this to this day. I don't know because I don't really do comics too much anymore. But I mean, the promise was, you had to keep your fans so invested in your book that they knew show up a month from now. I mean, you would absorb a comic book in less than 15 minutes. Like when you would read it cover to cover, you would be done with it, and you're like, great, man, I can't wait to see what happens with the next issue. And the idea is you're invested, and so you have to wait a whole month before you get the next issue. So being on time is important because you don't want to. You keep people waiting 2 to 3 months to find out how it's eventually they're going to latch onto something else.
Right. They figure they can always pull another artist. There's another writer that's looking for jobs. Like the NFL, there's always another guy that can run, catch, throw a ball. That's how they saw it.
It's one of those deals where, like, we run into this all the time. Like, maybe there's this guy or whoever employee that you want to get rid of, but you can't because you don't have any reason to. But then you're like, all right, here's my chance to do this. And so, yeah, like maybe being late is not that big of a deal, but I guess it is. That's the thing. Like, that's what they find. They're like, okay, we just cannot. We've tolerated A, B, and C, but you're messing us up on these deadlines, so you got to go.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we love you, man, but now you're killing us.
And your character is getting us sued.
Yeah, your character.
You ain't got to go home, but you got to go.
Yeah, and you can't have these rights. And so because of that, they let Steve go. Now, Steve is okay. He goes ahead and he does other projects for DC. Like we said earlier, he works on cartoons and a huge part of our youth. So Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thunder and Barbarian. So he's doing okay. He works for, he does some side work for Eclipse Comics. There was actually a thing where he wanted to beat the redesign by changing Howard into a mouse.
Into a mouse?
Yeah.
Howard the Mouse?
Well, he wanted to do this weird storyline where Howard gets transmuted into a mouse to try to beat the redesign law, because like they said, they gave him the redesign for the duck, but they never, they said you can't change that. But I guess he figured, hey, that's Jesus. We'll turn him into a mouse, and then like there's nothing you could do with that. And I guess they didn't have time to kind of figure out would the fans even like something like that, which they didn't, because that idea tanked really quick.
So it's out there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at him right now. Howard the Duck as a mouse. He looks like a broke ass Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh my gosh! So Danny he just web searched Howard the Mouse.
Yes,
and you found that?
Yes. If you do Howard the Duck mouse, you will see Howard the Duck. He's a brown mouse, and surprisingly, because you're totally waiting for him to look like Mickey, but there's except for the fact that the ears are very circular.
Yeah, but there's not boots, red pants.
Right. And he does have pants.
He does have pants.
Yeah, he does have pants. And which is odd to me because Mickey has shorts. So they could have totally gone pantsless here and gotten their pantsless character, but I don't
know, because National Lampoon did a pantsless mini, and that didn't work out too well for them.
They did a topless mini, right?
Yeah, but they went with mini, and this is like Howard pantsless.
Well, I'm just saying, the fact of them changing him into a mouse was probably something that was scary to Marvel executives as well.
Well, it's tough to market a book called Howard the Duck with a character that's not a duck.
Well, that's true. That is very true. So, yeah, Steve never gave up. That's probably another part of the reason why they had to let him go, right?
They let Steve Gerber go.
They let him go.
Jeez.
Now, Howard the Duck, the comic, still continues for a little bit. Now, they try what they can with Howard, right?
What time frame are we thinking? Is it still 70s, or we're going into early 80s?
Oh, now we're into the 80s.
We're into the 80s.
We're into the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now, at this point, they give different writers and they give different artists a chance to work on Howard Hins. This is where Duck World is born. A different writer created that. I think Mr. Molina is his name. Nobody Steve didn't like that one.
So all this time, Steve is not with the company anymore.
Yeah, he's not with the company. He's basically watching his baby being birthed and taken to school by completely different parents. He has nothing to do with Howard the Duck.
Oh, but he did have to do with the Mickey Mouse transformation of Howard.
No, I'm just saying after they let him go.
Right.
Yeah, Howard's still going.
I'm just saying that he did a lot to destroy his creation himself.
That's a fair assessment.
He started letting other people try to take it over. I mean, for a name like Steve Gerber, it's no surprise he's acting like a baby.
Yeah, don't make a comic book where you feel your character is being censored because he has to wear pants and then keep pushing the envelope. But maybe that was why they liked him in the first place before this issue came about with Disney. And again, Howard is just hanging out. He's in Duck World now. He's partnered with She-Hulk to help boost her series. There's even some writers even take it to where he leaves Beverly, his girlfriend, and contemplates suicide in a different issue to make a parody of It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh my gosh.
Writers still try to take the Steve Gerber approach and making satire out of different things that were happening in the world at that point. I think suicide's a pretty tough one to do. But, these are part of the reasons why the sales for Howard started to decline. And then Marvel was like, we're just going to push this character out. Newspaper, everything, it just stops, right? But Marvel does what Marvel does best. When in doubt, sell the license to your character. That will help you out of bankruptcy, which is a story for another time, and it helped them now. So what Marvel does is they take the license of Howard the Duck and they bring it to a company called Celluloid Productions.
Celluloid, okay.
Yeah, like SELL.
So not like CELL.
Yeah, not like fat.
Oh,
not
so
fat.
Celluloid.
Celluloid.
80s, yeah.
Sell your license.
Yeah.
Sell your license, Stallion. So the first thing that Celluloid decides to do is they decide to make a Howard the Duck radio show. And they were going to have Jim Belushi actually do the voice of Howard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You said we're going to have, they actually had it?
They had it. They were going to use it for radio spots, but they only did 4 episodes, like 4 spots. So it's very hard to find. But if you look for the Howard the Duck community page, you can find a couple of them online. They're really quick to go through. But yeah, I think that was cool. When I think of Jim Belushi, I always think of the Principal. Yeah, so that would be cool. But yeah, it only made 4 episodes. Didn't do too well. So Celluloid and Marvel had another idea with Howard the Duck. They decided to make it a movie.
You don't say.
Yeah.
This is what Lee saw?
This is what Lee saw. You might have heard of this movie, Howard the Duck.
Yeah, Lea Thompson in underwear. One of my favorite movies growing up.
Duck boobs. Woo.
Nice.
That's the best line all day.
I agree.
So yeah, they decided to go ahead and make a movie about it, and Steve hears about the thought of them making a movie, and then he decides to sue Marvel and Celluloid as well for his rights to be the creator and get some profit and say, hey, I'm the guy that made this character, Howard the Duck. Now they go ahead and the case goes, back and forth for a while, but pretty much to kind of sum it up, they settle out, right? Marvel pretty much wins it, obviously, because they say, hey, look, he worked for us, like we talked about before. He worked for us. Character's ours. We still made the character after he was gone.
Movie sucks. We didn't make any money.
Yeah, get to that later. Yeah, and then and Steve wanted to sue Stan Lee too. He wanted to sue all of them for like $2.5 million. He went for all of them. All of them. He was like, I am a creator. I have the rights. I made this guy when nobody else thought of it. This character's mine. He's mine. And Marvel was like, no, he's not. Now, the crazy part is, if this had happened, if Steve that is, had created this character, Howard the Duck, after 1976, he might have had a chance, because the Copyright Act of 1976, of course, appears, which might have helped him with his case, but since it was before that, couldn't do it. Steve even got a lawyer, Henry Holmes. Henry Holmes had represented Billie Jean King, George Foreman, and Harlan Ellison, who's a science fiction writer. So, needless to say, his lawyer was not cheap. Well, that was making Steve go broke. So then Steve had to go ahead and partner up with Eclipse Comics to make Destroyer Duck. I don't know.
Destroyer Duck?
Yeah, it was like...
My love for you is ticking clock destroyer.
Would you like a talking duck destroyer?
Beautifully.
Yeah, man. So yeah, he got with all these other artists and tried to help him pay his bills, and his bills were so high. The book sold a lot. It sold about 85.
The bill, that's funny.
Sells about 85,000 copies, but that only pays 20% of his lawyer fees.
Oh my god,
that's how high that was. So
I'm looking at the picture. This looks like freaking Howard the Duck in a Hulkbuster suit.
Yeah, well, it's almost like in the beginning, he looks like Sergeant Fury, like one of those like G.I. Joe, kind of like old school G.I. Joe kind of guy, the fatigues and stuff. So yeah, he tries to do that, but he can't afford it. He'll be paying these lawyer bills for the rest of his life. So
if you look at the first edition of Destroyer Duck, it says Special Lawsuit Benefit Edition #1.
That's it.
Because he's trying to let his fan base know, look, if you support me, you're supporting the cause.
Creator rights.
Yes. And so, yes, Destroyer Duck.
How much is that issue worth? Holy crap.
Oh, my God. You want to find out?
I want to find out,
I'll tell you right now. You ready?
All right, so Danny's looking it up.
If it's more than $5, I'd be impressed. Wow, $49.99.
I was going to say, Neil Adams, Kirby, they all worked on it. They were legends at the time. That's got to be worth more than $5.
I didn't realize Jack Kirby was the illustrator. You didn't give me that.
I was working to that.
Yeah.
Then I got intrigued, and I was like, well, let me just hold that back.
Jack Kirby was the illustrator. So, yeah, I'll give you that. So, it was like, yeah, it's a $50. Still, it's only $50.
But
yeah,
still,
that's true.
I would buy it. So that's okay. So Destroyer Duck.
Destroyer Duck.
Yes.
So he's trying to make his money by pretty much making the same type of character that got him in trouble in the first place.
And it's just funding the lawsuit.
Just the lawsuit. I would just think that's just being really obsessive at this point. But so the case ends. They settle out. And basically what happens is...
They settle out. So, okay.
Yeah, they settle out. And nobody knows what the disclosed amount is. Like, you can't find it. Every thing I read pretty much said the same thing.
So we were not in the room where it happened.
Yes. Therefore, you did not know.
That's right.
This is not the price you were looking for.
That's right.
So, yeah. So, here's the thing. So, Marvel says we can do whatever we want with the character. He's ours. But you, Steve, will give you the props of being the creator of Howard the Duck. That's all you get.
So he gets no money, but he gets props. He gets recognition.
He gets some percentage, but not as much as
if he was still working with a company.
Yeah, all right, like if we're gonna pass forward really quick, like Rob Liefeld, who does when we do the endings and the guy that comes in, he's like, Domino, come, yeah, like awesome. That guy has he has Deadpool, Cable, he has a bunch of characters that they've made the mainstream. So I'm sure he has a bigger percentage based upon how things have changed now. And a guy like Steve probably paved the way for creators' rights when they get to that level of success. Because it's very tough to have a character that you just made off the bat and then it gets big fast. And then now you have nothing to do with the company, but people are still drawing your character. I'm sure they have worked out the percentage thing a lot better, but for Steve, he just wanted to deal with the fact that there was a movie being made, right? All right, so now we're gonna go ahead. We fast forward it. Steve gets to be a consultant on the Howard the Duck movie, which we know had George Lucas tied to it, right? George Lucas thought, hey, look, this would be an interesting idea. I got this Star Wars thing that was going. Nobody gave me a chance. I feel that, but and I did Indiana Jones. But I think if we do an Indiana Jones with a duck, I think it'll work.
Is that what do you think he did? Indiana Jones with a duck?
Yeah, there's some stuff already. It was kind of it'll be an adventure with this duck. It's never been done before. It's quirky. People already like it.
It seemed more like Big Trouble in Little China with the duck.
That's a good point, Lee.
I think
Big Trouble in Little China is awesome.
Yes, and
Howard the Duck is
not
on the level of Big Trouble. It's not on the level of Pork Chop Express. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. Though. I give them this much credit. Now they took a lot of work to make Howard move. Apparently, it was all kind of crazy stuff they had to do. They had different actors to do the move because I think they changed the look of him over time. I think the other thing they did was they said for him to talk, they just had an actor that just spoke through a speaker so that the other live actors could just
have something to play off of. Yeah.
Because it was tough to actually hear the animatronic Howard the Duck talk. Yeah, but it was quirky. I gotta say, it's not like whenever the movie came out, I never watched it.
The guy in the suit wouldn't have talked Howard, though, right?
No, but I think it was a matter of how they could project the voice so that the other actors could do their lines, and they had some other issues just basically making Howard. But I mean, do we all agree that what would you give it out of scale of 1 to 5? 5 being
1 to
the
5
highest.
feathers.
Well, yeah, 5 feathers.
Oh my god! If you were talking to little me back in the day, probably a 3. If you're talking to me now, a 1, if that.
I can tell you, as someone who saw it for the first time last night, it's definitely 1 feather. It's not 1 feather.
There's even a naked duck in
I
it.
don't even understand how that movie got made and released at that point. But, I mean, knowing all the history now, of course, I do understand it. And the fact that George Lucas was attached to it, I'm sure that had a little bit to do with it getting made. But it did have no sense whatsoever. It didn't make no plot line. No, it was just like, hey, here's this guy. And I didn't even like Howard at all. I was like, this guy's annoying. What an annoying character. But anyway, it just was like, and okay. And let's just say this: if you're going to do an '80s movie, you should have at least have some good '80s music on there. The soundtrack was terrible too.
You didn't like the Howard the Duck? Wow. You didn't like that?
Was the last song. That was the last song, and I didn't really like it that much. But at least that was. I thought one of the songs on there.
I thought the song was catchy. I did. Now, that's young Eli talking for real. That I thought it was catchy. I put it on my VHS tape when I saw that.
It's funny that Lee was watching Howard the Duck last night when I was watching Midnight Madness last night for the first time with my daughter, who loved it.
Oh my,
loved it.
That would be an interesting retro thing to talk about because it's quirky. It's a quirky movie.
Can't say it. Not even on Disney Plus. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. I even saw it.
Terrible.
Produced by Ron Miller. It's like that damn well ought to be on freaking, and there's like a couple of Mickey Mouse references in the movie.
Oh, wow.
There is. If you watch Midnight Madness, you'll see a couple of Mickey Mouse references in the movie. I ain't gonna spoil it.
Yeah.
We'll get to that one day. But I mean, Midnight Madness is a brilliant Disney film for its time.
Okay, so we agree the movie's a little quirky and a little weird, and that was one of the things that Lucas and the people that helped to create it felt that it was just kind of a zany thing. Now, Steve got to act as consultant, and the funny thing is, Steve would tell you to this day it was the best movie ever made. He loved it, absolutely loved it. Now, meanwhile, movie does not do too well. It tanks pretty bad. I think I think it only makes 16 million, but I think it was like it would cost almost twice that much to make. All the critics hated it, everything. And here's the funny thing. Now, really quick, Steve still gets to work with Marvel. He still gets to make like cool work. He goes ahead and he makes like.
Wait. So he's not working with Marvel, but he still gets to work with Marvel?
Well, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
say,
confused.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, after the movie has come out. The movie has come out at this point. And
And the movie came out, and he's still not working for Marvel.
he's not working for Marvel. He gets to act as consultant on the movie, and he gets the title of creator during the movie for Howard the Duck. So in the credits, he is listed as creator, as said per lawsuit. So now, yes, the movie takes, and because of that, George Lucas had been going through some other financial issues. This movie kind of put it over the top. And so what he had to do was he had to sell a part of his studio called the Graphics Group to Steve Jobs to make his money back.
Nice.
Now, you may not have heard of the Graphics Group, but you've probably have heard of a group called Pixar, which is who this studio was after it got sold to Steve. Steve bought it for $5 million, put another $5 million into the group, and then hence you now have the wonderful world of Pixar. So you can thank Howard for that, ladies and gentlemen. You can thank Howard for that. In later years, after all this stuff happened, of course, the staff of Marvel changes, and Steve is still regarded as a writing genius. And so different editors and stuff, they still say, hey, come back, work in the fold. Why don't you work on Howard here and there? And he does. He works on Howard in different revamps for Marvel Max. He, just does his thing. And everybody loves it. Only thing is that Steve still can't let go of that censorship pants thing. So what he does is, in later years, he comes up to Marvel and he says, I got a great idea. Now, he's a freelancer at this point.
How long ago is this? Disney still does not own Marvel at this point, I'm assuming, right?
Right. Disney does not own Marvel. I'm sorry. Yeah, Disney does not own Marvel at this point. The movie has happened. It's flopped. We're talking early 2000s now. Before the bankruptcy, before the change of everything, like about 2001. So what happens is that Steve talks to Marvel and he talks to Image Comics, right? And he basically pitches a weird kind of crossover without the two books crossing over. In Marvel, he wants Howard and Spider-Man to be, fighting some bad guys in this warehouse. While on the Image side, he has Destroyer Duck and Savage Dragon, who's created by Eric Larson, who used to be a Spider-Man artist.
I remember.
Yes, the Image breakup. That's another one. That's another good story to tell. But he talks to them separately, and the Marvel editor kind of is like, I'm kind of scared about this. I don't know what you're trying to do. And he's like, nah, it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be good. So basically what ends up happening is that you have to look at the two books at the same time. But there's a fight that goes on, and there are a bunch of Duck clones. So Destroyer Duck and Savage Dragon steal the real Howard the Duck from the Marvel universe and then bring him over into the Image universe. And Spider-Man apparently walks off with a clone that is supposed to resemble Howard the Duck. So this is Steve's way of saying, I took my character back. The character that you see in Marvel is a fake. Well, that fake is pretty much doing really good right now, because now we're seeing him with pants on, getting a resurgence in the Marvel universe. We're seeing him being portrayed in Guardians of the Galaxy. We're gonna They're pretty much redoing the series with Marvel now.
He was in Endgame for a brief moment.
They might. Would you guys want to see a redone Howard the Duck movie? In the MCU?
Man, you know what?
I don't know if I need it to be redone. Just have him in there.
I would like to see Howard in... Yeah, I would. I would like to see Howard portrayed as he was meant to be portrayed.
That duck looks a little rougher. I think
does,
that duck that's in there now, he looks a little more...
From Guardians?
Yeah, the one that's in Guardians. Yeah. I think that one would portray a more adult version of how that story could be done.
Well, that's post Lea Thompson. Lea Thompson broke up with him, so he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
he's got issues.
It couldn't work out.
No, because he got that corkscrew.
It couldn't work out. But with that story, the editor was worried he was going to be fired. He did not get fired. Steve apologized to him, and so all things were good. Steve went on to win a bunch of different awards, like we said before. So, I mean, he even got inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame. Which is,
Eisner?
Yeah, Will Eisner Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah. No, when we talk about the creed of the spirit, sequential art father of comics, if you will.
Oh, so this is a good name.
Yes, this is a great. Oh, it's a great name. Great name.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yes, and so Steve, went down saying, "Hey, look, I do not want my character wearing pants," and so now the story. It's all about the glory. That is how Howard the Duck came to be, and the effect that he had on not just the Marvel universe, but the Disney universe as well.
And now they own him.
And
I, in support of Howard, will not wear pants.
There you go. But now you know why Howard wears pants. Now you know why there's that specific shot of him sitting there
with
wearing pants.
On. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Otherwise, he'd be duckless.
That'd be great if, like, in the fourth iteration of the MCU, Howard the Duck makes an appearance, more so than just an appearance.
I would rather see a Howard the Duck movie than the Eternals movie, to be honest with you, for this next phase.
Okay.
I personally would. That's a different argument.
For another day.
So what was Steve's feelings when Guardians finally came out?
Well, unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh, man.
That's a shame.
Yes.
Was he buried with no pants?
Only his family can tell you that, sir. That was not in anything I read.
Well, when they do an open coffin, all you see is the top half. So
yeah,
maybe
you see he should, though, without any pants. I would think, though, with the pants thing on that scale, I'm sure he's upset. But I think there's still a part of him seeing his character on the screen. It would still make him happy. But I'm sure he would rather have his character in his own movie. I think he would still be more pumped about that movie that everybody disliked than 5 minutes of a movie everybody liked. That's what I would like to think.
I would agree with that. I'd absolutely agree with that because, yeah, he does show up for like a brief moment in every movie he's been in. I've always looked at it as a tease that they're going to pay off at one point in time where you get the Howard the Duck series in the movie or that kind of thing. So I'm kind of curious to see what they do with that.
I think it's crazy that it's a character that comes off as a gag in the beginning. Just like, just the world that it's in the 70s, like, all right, well, let's just make this weird sight gag. And then it turns into a fan sensation, but more importantly, it turns into a love that a creator has for his character to a point to where he's like, all you big behemoths, no. Like, I got to tell you, I love the work that I do, but if Disney came to me and was like, hey, we'll make this movie, but we just want your character to wear pink tutu, I'd be like, well, I could make another character. It is true
to a certain degree. It is like being known as the guy who created like Orko from He-Man or Batmite or you name the obscure little quirky comic-y guy that just for whatever reason caught on and had a little bit of a cult following. But it is. It's kind of like, well, okay, hey, at least this guy's getting recognition. Man, this dude took it seriously.
But he already had his career had already expounded. Like, if you know for one thing and then that's it, that's one thing. But this dude could have went on, and now this is strictly hypothetical, right? Just for the listeners to say, this dude could have went on, wrote like a pretty awesome. Let's say he could have written an awesome Avengers story. that story could have been turned into a movie. Like, you just never know. And that's my point. And like, I think that's unfortunate. He never gave himself that chance. It's like, if you've been given the keys to the kingdom and people are like, boom, you're a legend. Like, do you give up everything for this one shot for this one character? Or do you just take all the gold and say, hey, I got this whole sandbox. I'm a name. People have heard of me. Whatever I could write is gold. People love what I do. I could create something later. I could take the characters you have now and put my own satire on it because I know people follow it from this, obscure character. I think that's the part of it for me that's fascinating. That he just chose to have that tunnel vision to a point to where it's like, you should give up here. But if he was satisfied with the fact of his character just getting to that level and then still getting the name recognition of being a creative, and if he's good with that, then that's awesome.
Well, Eli, if you could for me create this, and since we are in South Louisiana, can you create Nutria the Nude?
What?
Can you create that character for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Give me 30 minutes. That won't be hard.
Nope.
Does the business, you want the business to come out too?
Whatever it takes for him to destroy levees.
Just like a big teeth.
Yeah, he could be like a villain. Nutria the Nude. He's a villain.
Oh my goodness.
He destroys levees, and he's like everything in the entire Mississippi, he's gonna flood.
I gotta still have him fight Beijing Chloe.
That's fine too. Beijing Chloe could be the superhero. That works.
That's it. Okay, I'm walking away.
Well, Eli, look, man. In all seriousness, thank you for this. But I am serious about Nutria the Nude. But anyway, separate tide. Thank you for the Howard the Duck history. This has been fascinating because I only knew Howard the Duck from the movie, and then from appearances in Guardians of the Galaxy as well as Endgame. And this history of Howard the Duck, including the lawsuits and stuff, has been like absolutely fascinating.
It's a lot. Thank you for letting me share that.
Absolutely.
Share that love, and y'all hear the love. That's all love.
One more weekends, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you learned something. If you want to ask any questions for Eli about Howard the Duck, we'll tell you how to do that in just a little bit.
Or the Nutria the Naked.
Nutria the Naked. NEKKID.
There it is.
Thank you. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed that discussion of Howard the Duck. All of it. If you want to learn more about us, magicourway.com is the way to go. There you'll find our social media links, past episodes, and more. If you want to get in touch with us to share your opinions, you can do so through the following ways. Shoot us an email at show@magicourway.com. Leave us a voicemail via our SpeakPipe widget. Or you can call or send us a text message at 1-815-MOWEEKEND. That is 1-815-MOWEEKEND 6694226. Of course, we have a couple guys that do things outside of the podcast. First of all, we got Eli that does things with comics. Eli, here we go.
Hey, Rob Liefeld here. Deadpool, Cable, X-Force, Domino, Marvel Comics, Image Comics, all of it. You guys, what is up? Eli Ivory. What a great name. Eli Ivory, comic guru. I'm here to talk about you. I am here to say, check out ivorycomics.com. That's right, you. Check out ivorycomics.com. ivorycomics.com. If you're not doing that, you're missing out. You're missing out. The Savages comic cannot be beat, cannot be surpassed. You need to check it out, experience it for yourself, and you know the story. It's all about the glory. Congrats to you and all the magic that you're making with your Ivory Comics. Eli Ivory, comic book guru. Check out ivorycomics.com, comic book guru. Eli Ivory, the whole package. Deadpool said to. Do it. ivorycomics.com. Right now. Liefeld out.
Hey, Kirk, that was Rob Liefeld. Just to let you know. Quartermaster, that was Rob Liefeld. All right, Eli, take it away.
Yeah. Yes, you heard Rob Liefeld right there.
Wait, did you say that was Rob Liefeld?
That was Rob Liefeld.
Kirk, that was Rob Liefeld.
I reached out to Rob Liefeld myself and said, hey, from one guru to another, can you show me some love? Can you show me a little madness? so I get me a little Gladys. And he said yes. And you heard him. You could go to Ivory Comics website. You can check out the Savages book that cannot be beat for free. You can read it. Due to COVID, had problems with the printer. You can read it for free. Check it out. You're going to love it. You also can see where I have artwork for Project Geisha, The Molly Be Damned. And of course, on this podcast, you will never miss an episode because there's always a link. All right? That's synergy for you. All right, you can also find me on Facebook, Eli H. Ivory. You can also see on Facebook the Project Geisha Facebook page. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm there, eIvory504. And of course on Twitter, you can find me on Hancock10166. So, by the way, Kirk, that was Rob Liefeld right there. That's some good stuff. That's why when you appreciate the madness, you just bringing me the gladness. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Kirk, before you shove that extendable police baton up my butt, we love you, man. We're just kidding.
Oh, that's bull. But that's mad love for you, Kirk.
And he probably would appreciate you extending the police baton up the butt.
Only you do, Cap.
I wasn't going to say that, but
Only you. We love you, Kirk.
And if you want to book a vacation with Lee, so you can, not view Howard the Duck, but at least go visit the Creators Museum over in Disneyland.
Maybe when they have the ships, all the stuff is over, you can see the movie.
Yes,
there you go.
Absolutely. If you want to do that, you can do so through Lee. Lee, tell them how to book a vacation to the world. Or land, apparently, is almost opening, maybe.
Hopefully soon. Yeah. You can call me at 832-431-1621. That's 832 Howard the Duck Butt.
Damn it, that's genius.
Very good, very good.
Why did I think of that?
DKBUT. Email me at lee@magicourway.com. Facebook page, facebook.com/Lostovica Travel. That's LASTOVICA Travel. Instagram, you can find me at You Got a Friend in Lee Travel. And if you do any of that, we'll get you hooked up and booked up with no.
Duckavica.
In addition, there are so many ways to support the show as a whole, and you can find them all on our website, magicourway.com. Any way in which you can support the show is deeply appreciated. We also want to take a second and thank you for being a loyal listener, and we love hearing from our listeners. All opinions are always welcome in the Magic Our Way podcast, so make sure you get in touch with us today. So, Mohicans, ladies and gentlemen, we say Kwaharini. My name is Kevin.
And I'm Danny.
Magic out.
I have every intention of eating those bananas for breakfast, but I still somehow end up with
Gerber baby food.
Nice.
In addition to my 12 pairs of shoes, I also pack Mad Hatter Radio
Yes.
in my suitcase.